Welcome to the Gruber Morning Show. This is the Tesla Roadster portion of our podcast. I'm Pete Gruber.
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning. Welcome, everybody.
And what we have behind us here today is one of the themes in the podcast. We're showing a 2008 Tesla Roadster. And by the way, this is a completely AI-generated image. So be kind if you see some details that don't quite match up to what your expectation is. But what we're showing here is that Tesla Roadsters really don't like being in storage. And when they are, sometimes they get bricked, and it's usually pretty traumatic. We'll get into that in a moment here. First thing we wanted to cover with you is at Gruber Motor Company, we give tours almost daily. And sometimes we have entire teams coming in that want to see the operation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this Saturday, for those of you that are local here, at 9 o'clock at Gruber Motor Company, we're going to have the local Lotus Club join us at Gruber Motor Company for a tour. And of course, it'll be quite revealing for them because the Tesla Roadster really is a Lotus. Styling, DNA, a number of them were built there.
What time was that?
It's at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, I got to remember that too.
Okay. The Lotus vibe is going to be strong that morning. An old car friend of mine who has owned a number of exotic cars, and used to see him at Cars and Coffee all the time here locally. We used to do supercar runs together, and he either brought a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, or he had an Acura NSX for a while, and now he has the last production ICE Lotus that he's bringing to the club. So Saturday morning, for those of you interested, we'll have refreshments, and you'll get to see a bunch of cool Lotus cars, and of course the Roadsters, which are always there at our service center.
I hope you guys get a couple of pictures of a Lotus along with Roadsters, just to show the similarities. I don't know that I'll be able to be there, but I'm looking forward to hearing about it.
Absolutely. Jesse got an image to pop up here, charge cables. We are surprised, actually, by the amount of interest in the Roadster community in having the charge cables rebuilt. The one on the left there is the MC120 with its 12-foot, 12-gauge cord and the GFI plug on the end. And sadly enough, that cable has been responsible also for some bricked Roadsters. What typically happens is they're not always plugged into dedicated circuits, which it requires a full 15 amps when it's charging. And what happens is those GFI plugs, when operating under lower voltages, these circuit boards tend to heat up and they fail. And they may fail while you're on vacation with your charge cable plugged in, hoping that you're getting a charge while you're gone, and you come back to a brick Roadster. So what we end up doing with that yellow charge cable, we put a 25-foot cord on that, and we put a 10-gauge cord on it, which is good for 30 amps versus the 20 amps that you had with the 12-gauge cord. And we get rid of that GFI plug, which is really no longer necessary. So you end up with a much more robust MC120 charge cable, and it's been a very popular upgrade. We also rebuild the proprietary Tesla charge connector, and what you end up with is something that's quite a bit better than what you had before. We also repair the MC240 charge cables, which is the one to the right. The piece that's in the molded into the cable on the right there is where the contactor is housed, and that we don't repair because it's potted. Fundamentally, you've got a bunch of tar in there, and in order to get at anything, you have to do an archaeological dig. But sometimes the problems are in all of the AC plug socket combinations that you see there, and those are quite repairable. We even had one customer that drove over that cable and put a bunch of cut marks into the MC240 cable there, and we were able to repair that as well. So if you have any charge cables that need repair or wall mount chargers with your Tesla Roadster, feel free to send those to us, and we will rebuild and repair those for you.
What was he driving over that cable? What, it was sitting in a bunch of sharp rocks or something?
Well, we never did find out, but it almost looked like maybe a lawnmower was turned on and went over the cable and caught the blade, caught some of the.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's hard to predict. All right. And by the way, the guy that repairs those in our service center has gotten very good. Nick, he's the one that builds the battle bots, the robots. Bright young man from the Arizona State University. He's one of our engineering interns, and he has famously been repairing these charge cables and rebuilding them.
Hopefully we can get Nick to eventually get us some video of his BattleBot. I heard that it was very loud and pretty intimidating, honestly.
It was, and he won first place, by the way, went to San Jose. His BattleBot weighs 240 pounds, so we had to unload it with a forklift when he brought it by Gruber Motor Company.
Okay.
And when he fired it up, there is a round steel, hardened steel drum on the front that weighs 75 pounds. It has 3 teeth on it, and this thing begins to spin. And when it starts to spin, it goes up to 11,000 RPMs.
Wow.
Which makes the ground vibrate. It was on concrete, and you could feel it. And we just all instinctively backed away from this thing as it was winding up. And thinking about, what is this going to do in the competition to some robot that's coming over with a hammer or a flamethrower or whatever else or the flipper type things, right? Well, they showed the video, and I'm going to bring it the next time so that you guys can see how this BattleBot just destroyed the competition.
Oh, please do.
But it actually took another 200 and something pound robot, BattleBot, flipped it up in the air about 8 feet or so. It flipped around and landed on its back. Then it righted itself and it came back for more, somehow survived. And Nick's bot just destroyed it. And then at the end of this was really humorous. He's clearly the victor because his opponent now is off in the corner in flames.
Okay.
So Nick's in the middle with his bot, and it does a happy dance. So we'll bring that video. I think you're going to enjoy it. But the whole point here is we have very talented people over at Gruber Motor Company, and Nick is one of those rising stars in our organization. We have another image here. If we can pop up, where is it here? VIN 108, Jesse. We have Roadsters leaving every day, every few days.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one that really was remarkable. It just left this morning. This is VIN number 108. So it's a 1.5 series. And this one was in our shop for a good year and a half or so. We don't usually take that long to repair Roadsters, but this one came from another shop. And it had a blown PEM, which also took out the DC to DC converter in the main battery pack, since it feeds 12 volts to the PEM. So sometimes if you have carnage inside the power electronics module, it is not isolated just to the PEM. It will migrate into other portions of the car. And the DC to DC converter, also known as the APS unit, is one of those things that it can affect. So we had problems in both, and unfortunately, it was one of the first generation APS units made by Martech. And these units are very difficult to do component level troubleshooting. Back in the day when they made those, they weren't concerned about doing component level if something went wrong. They went on the shelf and they pulled another Martech unit and put it into that ESS pack.
Yeah, those were designed to be throwaway units, weren't they?
Exactly. They weren't designed to be repaired.
Yeah.
And that's painfully evident when you open one up, because what you have is a bunch of potting compound that is covering a bunch of key components, even transformers, MOSFETs. And the reason for that potting compound is for thermal management.
Sure.
So jump forward now 10, 16 years or whatever, and we now have problems in these units without any kind of recourse, because these were proprietary, custom made. That's not an off-the-shelf product. And in order to have them remade it's going to be an extraordinarily high minimum order quantity. So no one in the independent space or even Tesla is interested in having this product recreated. So the only option is to repair it. So we ended up doing the archaeological dig, and between the PEM and this MarTech unit, it took quite some time to isolate all of the problems and to repair the traces and to replace and identify all the components. But we're happy to report that VIN 108 is now back on the road. In fact, not only that, but it actually sold. The original owner sold this, and 108 is now going to the new owner in Colorado.
I know that our new owner in Colorado is super excited about his new Roadster coming soon.
I know you were heavily involved because it was one of those cases where we had it listed on our free Roadster matchmaking site, and the seller also availed themselves of our free escrow service, which is something that is handled by accounting and Mark's team.
That's true. It's a fairly easy process, and we just help. It just helps to facilitate things, because in so many cases, when a Roadster seller and a Roadster buyer want to get together, they're both in different states. And how do you get, how do you send a car and then somebody send cash if you have no recourse? And then and the vice versa is also true. How would you send cash and hope that one day you get a car when you really have no recourse once the cash is sent? We become that middleman, and it makes a much more seamless process.
And did I insert the right description? Free escrow service.
That's right.
Everything
It is
about
free.
our Roadster matchmaking site is absolutely free. No charges for anything, and customers love it. It's we have no competition because there is no free anywhere else like this.
No, not on a service like this.
I think we have another image here, Jesse. CAC old is the image we'd like to pop up here. There we go. Actually, CAC new.
I was gonna say there's two CAC olds.
Oh,
CAC new.
yeah,
There's
let's
one.
do CAC new.
Okay, there you go.
Nope, that's not it. Sorry about that. It is CAC old. There we go. So the reason we're popping up a calculated amp hour capacity screen here from a Tesla Roadster is we had a customer that had their car here last year and was interested whether there was any calculated amp hour capacity degradation. And they emailed and said, do you by chance have any kind of data about what the CAC was when the car was in your service center? Well, the answer is yes. When we receive cars, there are a number of documents created. There are pictures taken of the car, the condition of the car, any kind of issues with the car. We also take a complete backup of the VMS, which just in case something were to happen, we're able to restore. And we keep those for the customers for future. Sometimes the VMS loses its mind.
Yes.
And when it does, you may just need a firmware reload, and we happen to have and store all of that for you. And one of the things that we do is we take a picture of the CAC. Well, the CAC at the time the car was here was 130.78. You can see it in the upper left-hand corner there. And if we go to CAC, there are two. The other CAC old, Jesse. How can we have two? Oh, different file types. That's
One's a
what I looked at.
JPEG, one's a PNG.
Okay, so it's the PNG one we want to go to. And what we're able to see now is that the CAC dropped mildly, inconsequential. But again, any of you interested, we're at 129.9 now compared to the 130.78, which is a perfectly normal decline in calculated amp hour capacity. So this customer was quite pleased that we keep the kind of records that we do, and we were able to accommodate them. Got a bunch of questions coming up in here.
We do. We have on Instagram, Wincha Mean has joined us. And first, welcome. Good morning. Glad to have you on Instagram and glad that you're able to see our backgrounds. What does it take to get a job at Gruber Motor Company?
Send your resume. ev@gruber.com. We are always looking for talented, passionate people with some experience or not. If it's in automotive, we will train, and would love to take a look at your skills and your resume and see if there's a fit.
I think, didn't one of our technicians come as a result of them sending a resume because of watching our podcast?
Was that Brad?
Brad
Yeah,
Luchek.
that's right, Brad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's one of our top engineers now.
He's a very valuable member of the team.
Instagram. Mugalu the car guy says, we love your work and would like to give some insight on how to make high voltage workshop in Africa. Okay. Well, our suggestion there is stay active on our YouTube channel. We post so many shorts and videos, how our GMC service center is evolving. And what we realized early on, it truly is the auto shop of the future. And since auto shops are all going to migrate to repairing electric vehicles, and we were one of the first ones there, at least in the independent space, this is a great place to hang out because we've had a lot of opportunities to improve and expand and grow our EV service capability. And we love to share.
Mhm. Highlander in Muskegon, or Highlander has joined us, and he has a couple comments. His first, Muskegon, Michigan, Father's Day weekend. It's an all-electric vehicle event with everyone invited. To stay on topic, there will be a Roadster there too. And Highlander, thanks for reminding us of that again.
Right. And another reminder, which we didn't do in the last show, was let's not forget to mention Austria with the Roadsters there in Europe. Yes, in Flachau, Austria, in 2 weeks, the 24th and 5th, there will be a Tesla takeover event. Flachau is just outside of Salzburg, Austria. Southern Germany or Bavaria is on the northern border. They're not too far from there. And anyway, I will be there. There will be a lot of workshops. There will be a lot of guest speakers. And they feel that there are going to be 1,000 Teslas there.
Who did you say? Bearded Tesla, Tesla Boomer Mama, a couple other big names that are always out there, big in the community.
John Springer, I think, is going to be there.
John Springer.
What we're not getting this year, and this is the first one in Europe, is May Musk, Elon Musk, or Kimball Musk. But I think that will come as this gains popularity. The Europeans are very much becoming focused on electric vehicles. And with a factory there in Berlin, Germany, making Teslas, it's a foregone conclusion that the passion will quickly ignite there.
It definitely will. That's going to be an exciting time. Looking forward to having our podcast that Saturday morning on the 25th, or what will be Saturday late afternoon or evening for you.
Yep. For those of you, yes, I'll be there on a Zoom call, and the folks here will be running a podcast, and we'll be able to give updates and answer questions, the things that we normally do, keep you entertained with EV stuff.
Definitely.
Picture, Jesse, and this one is it starts with 565. Sorry, I didn't name it for you. What we're going to pop up here is there is now, again, a Tesla Roadster at one of the U.S. auction sites. And this is not common. It used to be. We would get at least a dozen per year that you could bid on.
Oh, yes.
Haven't seen one of these in many, many months, but this is a Glacier Blue. And it is, I'll give you the VIN here in a second.
Looks like maybe
VIN
829.
829, exactly. It's a 25,000-mile car. It's also a sport roadster. But as you can see in some of the other pictures, if you go to Copart and check this out, there's a bunch of front-end stuff that's in bits and pieces, including the headlight there. But they are saying that this is a runs and drives car.
Wow.
What that means is that despite what it looks like, you can actually get in this car, turn the key, and drive it a bit. Now, here's some caveats that you have to be very careful about. We know this well because we bought so many Roadsters from Mannheim, IAA, Copart. It looks like a restoration opportunity, but remember, it will need a battery recovery, which means a trip to a shop like ours that recovers battery packs. And you're not going to want to send this to Tesla, because if you're trying to get a battery pack repaired from Tesla, their only option is going to be a $45,000 replacement. So a recovery option like ours is infinitely less expensive. But the reason it's going to need that, even though it's running and driving right now, by the way, you know what they tell you? When you finally bid on this car and you're successful months later after it's been in title jail, and you get your car and it doesn't run and drive, they say, well, it ran and drove when it came in here. And there's some fine print there that says, we're not responsible for what happens to the car while it's been sitting outside in our lot, not being charged and not being tended to.
So you're talking about a hard bricked car,
Totally.
in all likelihood. So anyone who buys this particular car, if it becomes hard bricked, they are probably looking at a $45,000 battery pack.
It won't be hard brick depending on the amount of time. What they're not going to do here is charge it for you. We've asked them to do, we've pleaded with them and said, look, this car, the resale is going to be so much better if you're able to demonstrate that you've been taking care of this $45,000 battery. They
Sure.
say, no, we're not mechanics, and these things sit out in a field somewhere, and there's no electricity there to charge it.
Such a travesty. And does this car even have a top on it?
Well, I'm getting there too. Yes, it does not. And if you don't see a top and it's sitting outside, and this one is in Oklahoma, you're going to have some weather that's going to affect the interior of this car. So don't count on your leather seats to be pristine. And if it fills up with water, which is unlikely unless you have a really severe, rainstorm,
Yeah.
you could even have water damage in a car like this. Now, everything that I just told you, of course, is a potential reality. It doesn't mean that we have not bought cars like this, because we're able to recover the battery pack. And a good used battery pack in this market is invaluable because it keeps Roadsters on the road.
Right.
You also end up with a power electronics module, which is nicely and carefully tucked away underneath that rear trunk cover. And then whatever other parts may be useful in there, the switch pack module underneath the dash, the VMS module underneath the passenger compartment. So there are some usable parts here. But I just want to make sure that the starry-eyed new group of collectors that see this as a easy way for them to get an inexpensive Roadster, and this will probably sell for $55,000. We bought two of them, I think, last year in that price range in comparable condition. You're going to end up putting quite a bit more money into this car after it's purchased. It's also going to need a front clip and a passenger fender. No, it looks like the passenger fender is okay.
Passenger fender might be okay.
Yep.
On the opposite side, it possibly might have needed. Well, maybe the driver's fender would be okay as well. But you've got some damage over there on the driver's side that I'd be concerned about.
Yeah. And then, of course, what you don't know is any suspension damage or frame damage. And we do not recommend, putting cars back on the road that have frame damage.
Right.
So there you have it. That is on Copart currently. There is no completion date yet. It was up to $20,000 the last time we looked at it, which means absolutely nothing, because the majority, smart money is going to bid toward the end.
Yeah, but it seemed like, at least back in the day when we were getting these for $18,000 or $20,000, the early bids would go up to somewhere between $4,000 and maybe as much as $7,000 or $8,000, and then the auction would come close to the end. The smart money comes in. The serious bidders then bid it up. If your casual bidders are already up to $20,000, wow. You're right. It's going to go for $50,000 or $60,000.
Yeah, we used to buy these at the close of auction for $15,000 to $20,000.
Yeah,
but now we have investors that are thinking they're going to get a bargain. So be wary. Any of you that have questions, by the way, feel free to call us. Gruber Motor Company, 800-658-5883. Sound like I'm doing a commercial, don't I? If you want to reach me directly, extension 207. And I'd be more than happy to run through some of the pitfalls with a car like this, or some of the benefits, because both are available. have another picture to pop up here, Jesse. It's called VIN 145 Bring a Trailer Sale. And this was a Roadster that finished bidding last week. And it was a happy coincidence that it was finishing right during our podcast. Remember
That's
that?
right. We had this one on live, and we were watching the price go up. When we first saw it, we were like, "Yeah, this is not bad." It was at $88,000 or something like that, and we thought that's if that's where it ends up, that is actually a really good price for the Roadster. And then it just kept going up and up and up.
Mm-hmm. The reason I showed you 3 different auctions there, one was within a week of each other. The one that just sold, and this broke the recent Bring a Trailer records because cars were typically selling Roadsters $79,000 to $88,000, as you can see in the 2 on the right there. This particular one reached $110,000. And what is so ironic is the 2 on the upper left there, same color, same year, mileage a bit different. One is 6,000 miles, the one on the left, and the one on the right is a 24,000-mile Roadster. But look at the price difference. We've got one that sold for $75,500 and then $110,000. So the lesson there is the auctions are unpredictable, and it can go both ways. This 110 is highly unusual for what Bring a Trailer has been fetching recently. If you notice the one on the far right there, that one sold for $71,000. Now, all 3 of these are functioning Roadsters. There is nothing wrong with them. There's deferred maintenance in all of them, of course. Suspension, the PEM needs to be upgraded, may need tires, that sort of thing. But you can see the price variations. And when you have one that sells for $110,000, what that means is that there were 2 people that badly wanted that car.
Yeah, you have to think that because if you do the math, going from 6 to 24,000 miles is that's only 18,000 miles. It's almost $2 a mile in price difference between the center Roadster and the one on the left that sold for so much more. Are you going to pay $2 a mile to not drive a car or that you bought at auction? I don't know. Wow.
Well, then we also find that there are a couple of types of collectors. There are the ones that are looking for that pristine, extremely low mileage car that they never intend to drive.
Right.
We've got one right now that's sold. It has 38 miles on the odometer. If you were to take that car out and drive it, it would cost you thousands of dollars every mile that you put on that car because of its loss of equity or value. So you take the one on the left there, that's a 6,000-mile Roadster. Typically, the collectors looking for low-mileage Roadsters that they plan to park and simply buy because of low mileage isn't going to be a 6,000-mile car. They're going to most likely enjoy this car.
Probably. That's exactly right. The 6,000 miles, it's low, but it's not really collector low.
Right. And, one thing that this car did have going for it, 6,000 miles was put on a car and then it was put in storage for, I think, 10 years or something like that. So one might then say, well, maybe it doesn't have all the deferred maintenance. Well, a Roadster is going to have deferred maintenance whether you drive it or not. The electronics, for example, those electrolytic capacitors inside that power electronic module are going to age and deteriorate whether you're putting miles on it or not. It doesn't care.
Right. It's less about miles on that power electronics module and more about just the straight age.
Yeah. And then suspension components. Well, that might be argued. Well, okay, rubber is going to dry and become brittle as it ages, but use is going to accelerate that process, or shocks, for example.
Sure.
But anyway, we found it interesting that Bring a Trailer has this wide gap or this wide variation, especially in a couple of cars that really aren't that much different. And if you notice the dates there, one sold a week earlier than the other one. 2 weeks.
That's something else.
All right. We've got a comment here.
Highlander is saying, "Go Team Gruber. We're going to get that million." No, he's referring to 1 million subscribers. He says, "I'm calling Mark and Jesse. If you guys get done with lunch, I had to be about 2 course of the Highlander.
And this all this talk about subscribers, it is one of the measurements as to what popularity is on social media. And we've been blessed with a rapid subscriber growth. Gruber Motor Company currently has just over 450,000 subscribers. And the next goal, of course, is 1 million. And the reason for that is there are trophies that come along the way. When we got to 100,000 subscribers, we got this silver plaque with the YouTube play button. It's a triangular button, in the center. And it is now hanging prominently in my office, but we got 2 more in the meantime for our other divisions, which also crossed over 100,000. So we have 3 of them. Now they're going to leave my office and go into someplace more central, like the front lobby, I suppose.
Sure.
But that is one of the ways that you keep track what the level of success that your social media efforts have is by the number of subscribers that you have, a subscriber count. All right, I have something else for you here. Look what I'm holding here. This is a Tesla Roadster 2.0 key fob metal portion key. Let me
You
put
gotta
that
hold
over.
it in the middle, so Instagram can see
there
it.
we go. And against the black backdrop. By the way, I have a little piece of green screen here. Watch what happens when I put this behind it. Oh, in front of it. There we go. It makes it disappear. Isn't that cool? All right.
Oh.
But anyway, we had a hard time getting key fobs. In fact, I've been saying on this podcast, we even went to Lotus, talked to Matt Windle, who's a plant manager, was there during the Lotus day or the Roadster days and is still there. And he said initially, yeah, we can help you with that. And then after 2 weeks, he said, nope. Tesla took over the key fobs for the Roadster. We weren't involved in that, and we have no idea where they're getting them. These we get from a vendor in the UK, but what just turned up recently is, look at this. This is the 2.0 electronic key fob portion with the push buttons. And I know that some of you out there have lost your little T emblem on that button there. We have located a vendor for these, and if you look, we have a number of these in stock. There's another one of these sheets, by the way, in our inventory. What we haven't done yet is put these out on our e-store. So for those of you looking for the Tesla Roadster 2.0 key fob series, we now have both the metal portion and the fob portion. And what we're working on now is the programming for these so that it can be programmed to your car. I don't want to break off this little tab right here, but if I did, these two would snap together and you would have a standard 2.0 Tesla Roadster key fob. So that's good news. And these kinds of parts come along as we source and as we make calls, and it's a continuous process of searching for Roadster parts, and eventually you hit pay dirt.
Yeah, I mean, the key is that we're persistent. We just don't give up.
Right.
Yeah, and we look until we find. And that, kudos to Ramiro. He is the gentleman who reached out and was able to find those.
Oftentimes it's members of the community. It's you guys. The rear view mirror, for example, we struggled with that. We found close replacements, but not quite. And what ended up happening is you had to take the metal mounting tab off of the windshield. You had to heat that up and then take it off and get a strong enough adhesive. What this particular customer found was the original manufacturer, which sold these to a number of different car companies, and it is a direct replacement. It's just like the original Roadster rearview mirror, and the mounting tab fits this new rearview mirror. So if you're interested, the rearview mirrors on the Roadster generally delaminate, and if you look around the frame or the rim of your mirror, you'll see that it's beginning to delaminate, and you've got some roughness there. They're not that expensive, easy to replace. All it takes is a Phillips or I think, an Allen head screwdriver.
Probably.
And you slide it on, tighten it, and you've got a brand new rear view mirror. That's also out on our e-store, but the point there being is it wasn't us that sourced that. It was one of the members of the community. So if you have tips or suggestions, we're more than willing to share these on these podcasts for the community at large. All right. We had a customer come in end of last week, actually, Friday, from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. And he took a tour of the shop, and he was also looking at some of the Roadsters there for sale. On the Roadster matchmaking site, there are, I think, over half a dozen now that are in our service center being sold by the owners. And there's a little icon in the upper left-hand corner of any of those listings that show you whether the car is here or not. The advantage of having a vehicle here is a number of things. We have a number of people that come through here that may be looking for a Roadster, and they'll see your car. The second one is if you fly in, many of the sellers allow people to test drive their Roadsters. And what we end up doing is we're a vehicle dealer, so we'll put a dealer plate on it. You're now fully insured. You're fully legal to be on the road, and you can test drive that Roadster around Arizona. So those are some of the advantages of listing the car with us and or selling it from here. And I think we've got another 2 now that are coming available for sale. One just that was sold actually is being resold at this point, right? So
That's
3.
right. One that was sold. They were starting our escrow service, and the buyer decided at the last minute to back out and said, "No, I actually don't think I'm going to get this Roadster at this point in time." So that one's going back up for sale. It's at our location, and then I think we have 2 more coming in.
Okay, that's the sterling silver. We'll put that out there for play again then.
Yes,
I'm
definitely.
taking that off. On Facebook, there are a few Tesla sites that are focused on Tesla Roadster. The one I want to tell you about that's really gaining some nice momentum and some additional, members is the Tesla Roadster Owners Group. And for years, the rules for being a member of this group was that you must have a Tesla Roadster. You must own one, and you need to provide a VIN in order to become a member.
Mm-hmm.
What we realized is that there is some talent available in the ex-Tesla and the Tesla community, people that are still working for Tesla or used to work for Tesla or used to own a Roadster. And what we're doing now is allowing the Tesla people in that site because they have so many insights to share. So if you're interested, Tesla Roadster Owners Group, when you get to the question of VIN, just type in Tesla. And you will be allowed membership into that group and be able to participate and share some of the ideas and suggestions for how to keep our Roadsters functioning.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad that they're going to be have been invited to join the group. Hopefully, we get more of them coming on. I realize that with the recent round of layoffs, it's probably a lot more former Tesla employees
Tesla,
than current Tesla employees. But yeah,
I have another picture to show up here, Jesse. It is called Paint Damage 1. And this is from an owner in the UK that had some PPF removed from his Radiant Red Roadster. And we just want to issue a warning here that you need to pick the shops carefully. You need to find some that have had experience removing PPF. In this particular case, this is what ended up happening to his front hood vane after they removed the PPF. And you can see there's some paint that is actually delaminating and primer showing through. This, of course, is going to require a repaint. What we're thinking happened here is either the heat gun that was used to soften the adhesive to take the PPF off was a bit too aggressive, or there was a harsh chemical used that did not agree with the paint. The owner at this point for this car, since in the UK we're going into driving season,
right,
is going to do a spot repair, and then later on have some repaint done. There's another image here, Jesse, and if you can bring up paint damage -2. Um, he also showed us some bubbles that were in his paint on his Radiant Red. And we were kind of puzzled as to how a PPF removal could have anything to do with this. But as it turns out, in the UK, apparently the humidity is high enough that if the paint lines or the compressed air doesn't have enough dryers, you get water into the paint, this type of bubbling is not uncommon in extraordinarily high humid environments. In fact,
Oh, sure. Okay.
one of the other friends of his in the UK who has Lotuses showed him something comparable to this on the front hood, the same type of bubbles. So again, pick your shops wisely. If you're having paint done, this was most likely at the factory in Hethel, UK. And make sure that they have experience working in whatever environment they're in. And if it is a high humidity environment, ample paint dryers to make those compressed air lines as dry as possible is important.
Yep.
It's one of the problems we don't have here in Phoenix.
That is true. You know, I have compressed air in my garage. I do have the dryer on the line. Goodness, it's been a couple years, and the little beads are just now starting to turn to the color that they'll need to be replaced.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's been a couple years.
So the question we were asked is, can we recommend any paint touch-up places? And although we don't use them often, because we go right down to the paint store and have paint blended and matched and all of that, if you're in a pinch and you need either the little a jar that you can dab a rock chip, for example, with, or you want a spray can. The one that we've had reasonably good success with is a website called automotivetouchup.com. It's all one word, and it is a US-based company. They will, and they also have the Tesla Roadster colors on tap. So you'll see names like Racing Green, Fusion Red, Obsidian Black, Metallic, and the color codes that match the Roadster. Having said all of that, the paint control at Tesla during the Roadster days was not perfect. So even though there may be a paint code that they are mixing to, it may not be a perfect match in all cases. It's one of the reasons that we take our stuff down to paint stores and have them actually match.
Makes sense. Well, and the fact that it's a 14 to 16-year-old car also makes a difference too, because the paint color will fade or change over time. And the car, because the paint is changing or fading or aging all together at the same time, you don't notice it on the car. But then when you put new paint over the next to the old paint, you say, oh my gosh, these are completely different.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, Highlander says it's crazy how low the price is on original Roadsters. You're right. A couple of years ago, the average price was in the $120,000, $130,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
A car with pedigree would go 200, often 200 plus. We had one that sold for just under 300. The Chinese Roadsters, for example, those got way up there as well.
Yeah.
But currently, there is a glut of Roadsters. The inventory is too high. The cars for sale, just too many of them, and it is definitely a buyer's market. Now, we don't give investment advice, but in a buyer's market like this, for a car like a Roadster, it's probably a bargain considering where these cars are going to be in the future. Remember that the Tesla Roadster is the car that started the EV revolution, that is attached to a company that has become the most successful car company in the world. So they're going to be around. We're not going to see a Fisker type thing where the cars are being dumped and they're going to end up in landfills because they can't keep them running. The Tesla Roadster is destined to be a collectible car. So the advice in investing typically is buy the dips and sell the peaks.
And if Bring a Trailer is any indication, that price might be coming back up.
Yeah, yeah. But in the meantime, keep an eye on Bring a Trailer because they've been able to get some of the lowest prices for Roadsters that we've seen most recently. You're not going to see that on the Roadster matchmaking site. That doesn't mean that if the car's out there for $150,000, that is a firm and fast price. You can talk to the owners, which is part of the advantage of selling through our listing service, free listing service, is that we unite you with a seller and both of you hammer out a deal. We're not involved. We're uninvolved completely.
Yeah, that's and I'm glad that you said the magic word, free.
Yes. And, people always second guess that. Well, come on, nothing's free. Where are you making your money, And anyway, it is free. So we've got another individual that popped up here. You've probably seen him on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, Tim Valconeers. And he emailed me and he said, "Hey, Pete, I'm listening to your Roadster podcasts. I'm now on number 48, the next one in line from 2/13, February 13. The Europeans, by the way, do it backwards. My wife was all confused when she got the dates when we're going there. I had to explain that to her yesterday. He says, but after 48, there is no number of podcasts anymore if I search on YouTube. Well, we talked about that this morning. We're going to go back through and put the podcast numbers on there so you can see where they are aging or where they're located. On YouTube, you'll typically, by doing a search, will see them in the last order or the last
like
one.
Date order.
Yeah, date order.
Yeah.
But anyway, what he's telling us, and he's in Belgium, by the way. He's also a Lotus repair organization, but he loves Roadsters, and he's got one now that he's working with converting. So he says, I also have my replacement battery for my Roadster somewhere this month, and I'll post it on Facebook and send you some info. So we have yet another individual that is another innovator that is working on a Tesla Roadster replacement battery. Remember, we've got Evmix Nielsen, Chris Rosa. We've got Jerry Gibson up in Washington State. We've got Marco Nolte in Germany. And now we're adding Tim to this list. And what he says is he's working with this, with creating a battery which will have a total of 100 LiPo cells from Kokam, K-O-K-A-M. And he has a strategy how he's going to fill up the battery pack with these cells. LiPo, by the way, is lithium polymer battery. And if you're interested, look up the specs on this battery by going to Kokam, Kokam.com, I believe it is. And you can get some of the specs. So it looks like we've got someone else that's working on a replacement battery. Oh, Resell. I left them out. Chad Nagalaki. Also working on a replacement battery. None of them, to my knowledge, at this moment in time, have a product that you can actually put in your car or that is driving, except for Marco Nolte, who actually showed his car driving, still has some integration issues. And that's going to be exciting to see any of these innovators coming up with a solution. Then we'll have to see how they scale and how they're able to meet demand.
Yeah, and looking forward to seeing it. Very much looking forward to watching them drive their Roadster to see that they can put these in. It would seem to me that putting a new battery pack together, even if it's the same voltages, amperages, etc., it's different. So it's going to behave a little bit differently to the electronics, and it would be virtually impossible to have a battery just slide right into that pack and be 100% identical specs.
Right.
So if it was, I'm sure we'd have several battery packs already built.
And what these innovators are working on also is improvements. Not everybody wants to carry a 1,000-pound battery pack around with them in a little sports car like this. So with less weight, the handling should improve, the horsepower should improve, the 0 to 60 times will improve. There will be some suspension changes necessary as you trim weight on these cars because they were really dialed in with the exact configuration that we have here. And then, of course, different budgets. A smaller battery means less cells, means less cost.
Right.
So we're anxiously looking for how these innovators are going to bring product to market. Now, getting back to our theme here, which is that Tesla Roadsters don't like being stored. Here's another sad story that just popped up, and this was from Belgium. He says, sadly, my Roadster's battery, it's VIN 184 from Signature 250. In Europe, they had 250 signature cars, in US 100. It died while at a local body shop for a scratch repair. This happened in September of 2020, so we're talking 4 years ago almost. It had a healthy CAC of 150, and there was some insurance company involved, and the insurance companies are very fickle about honoring any kind of damage like this because Tesla was very firm about what needed to be done in order to keep a battery alive.
Right.
He says the battery was charged. It was at 78% when it left home. It was at the body shop from August to September 13th. It was a 2015 replacement battery pack, so it was an R80 pack to boot. And they're more fickle. We've seen that before. We had one come out of New York that was an R80 pack that got bricked, and we thought, well, there's plenty of time because we can recover up to 6 months. Turns out those first generation R80 packs bricked fast. It went to hard brick status very quickly. So anyway, he says any help is appreciated. In the meantime, he said he has shipped his car to Mars Orbiter for repair. That's Conrad Buck's organization in Germany. Highly competent, and we'll see if Conrad can turn this around. But anyway, here are our takeaways regarding these cars getting bricked either by exotic car storage facilities or body shops or paint shops or wherever they're going.
Well, museum in one case.
A museum, that's right, yes. First thing is, highly recommended, get OVMS in your Roadster. Open Vehicle Management System. We sell them on our e-store. They're not that expensive. It's cheap insurance. What that little black box underneath the passenger compartment, tapping into your VMS in your Roadster will do for you is it will continuously send you life signals about your Roadster to your cell phone. It will keep you in tune with what's going on, whether the state of charge is getting too low, whether it's about to get bricked. And then you can take appropriate action. Even if you're on vacation across the world, you call your neighbor and say, hey, can you check my circuit breaker at my house? Did a thunderstorm roll through? If you've got a caretaker taking care of your house or your car, go inside, look at the Roadster, what's going on, change the charge cable, whatever it is. Get yourself OVMS because it's the only thing that's going to give you early warning that your Roadster's about to get bricked. Your Roadster will tell you, and it will sit there and beep. But if the people hearing the beep aren't recognizing what that sound means, it means nothing.
Right, and that second generation cell phone service, which was discontinued in 2014, was still out there. Then sure, your Roadster would be telling you on your phone. Unfortunately, it's not, and so you need something like OVMS.
Exactly. The other thing is the quality of the body shop or the repair organization has nothing to do with whether they will kill your Roadster. We have seen highly competent shops. One was a consignment shop in California that had hundreds of millions of cars under their care and keeping, just didn't know what to do with 3 Roadsters, and they bricked 3 of them in short order. So it's not the size, quality, competence of the shop. We've seen some excellent shops just plain drop the ball over and over again. Got another one now that's coming in. Same thing. It's at an exotic car storage facility. Had no idea that the Roadster didn't have a 12-volt battery that could easily be replaced if it went dead while being stored. And it's coming in for a recovery at this point.
Is this the one where they called and said, hey, we think the 12-volt battery is dead?
Yeah, give us another 12-volt battery.
Can you get us another 12-volt battery really quick? And you're like, well, okay, but what VIN number are we talking about? And then they were, VIN 300 and something or something like that.
Yeah,
But
and there is no 12-volt battery.
yeah,
So anyway, yeah, it's not the companies you're sending them to. Cars just don't die without keeping a battery charged, other cars, but the Roadster does. All those other cars you see in that lineup there, if any of those 12-volt batteries go dead in those ICE cars, you just go to AutoZone and get another 12-volt battery. That's all it takes, and it will crank and start up for you.
yeah. And yet,
But
wow.
but the Roadster has an Achilles heel. And then the final thing we encourage all of you to do, proper and thorough training any of these shops that you take them to or these storage facilities. And don't stop there. Audit, check. And of course, if you've got OVMS, OVMS will tell you everything you need to know whether they're properly taking care of it or not.
Yeah, there's nothing. It would not be hard to do. You drop your car off at a shop on a Friday. They say they're going to do the repair. That next Wednesday or Thursday, drop by. Ask to get the key to your car. Open it up. Guess what? If your car is not being taken care of, your car will have dropped 20 or 30% on its battery. And what was a high charge could be a middle to low charge. What was a low charge could be a dangerously low charge.
All right, have another thing, and this is from Facebook as well, and it was to be expected, but someone posted and said, based on all the changes at Tesla, and this was in a Roadster site, it's not hard to connect the dots on the future of the R80 packs when Tesla's flagship superchargers are being spun off. Even less comforting considering people on this forum and their families may be affected. So the implication that a change at Tesla that we've been seeing might affect their willingness to continue to support the first generation Roadster.
Right.
And of course, this isn't the first time in the history of Roadster that this suspicion has been raised. It's quite common, actually.
Yeah.
But let me read you some of the comments here after this was posted. Yeah, that. There will be so many consequences to the bull and china shop method of running a business. And of course, that's a dig at Elon.
Right.
Another one said, Elon's moving on to the next buzzword, artificial intelligence. Well, okay. They've kind of been in that all along, though. I mean, OpenAI, Optimus, the robots.
Yeah, the full self-driving.
Yeah. Even the brain implants.
Yeah.
There are a variety of ventures that Tesla has been in, and it's not like there's a new shiny thing that's come along, in my opinion, that is now distracting Tesla. And let's not forget, Tesla is not Elon Musk. I can safely say that. These Gruber companies are not Pete Gruber.
Right.
There are a number, legions of talented managers and staff and employees that are really creating all the magic in these companies.
Right.
So I think even if Elon wanted to take some hard, deviation or direction, I'm not sure that he would be allowed to do so. There's a board of directors, there's shareholders, there's of course the SEC.
Yep.
So I'm not in agreement with some of these predictions. So my response to that was, we are in constant touch with Tesla Roadster service management, from the service centers to the very top levels of global service management, and testing the commitment level to continued Roadster support is at the top of our list, always has been. Speculations spawned by recent changes at Tesla is perfectly normal and warranted, as cost-cutting seems to be the basis for many of these changes. Aside from the fact that we are getting no indications any support changes for first-generation Roadsters are underfoot, there are a couple of other compelling reasons we feel that support will continue. One, we knew that at $29,000 plus tax, the 3.0 R80 battery pack project was underwater. We ran the spreadsheets.
Yeah.
We would love to have been in the battery pack creation business for Tesla Roadsters, But no matter how we ran the numbers, we could never come up with a profitability viewpoint on that project.
Well, and have you noticed all of the different people that are building battery pack replacements that are trying to get them into the Roadster? They're every single one of them is taking a different approach than putting a whole bunch of the 18650 cells together.
Right.
Why? It's simple. It's the economics of it. It doesn't make sense.
And then you have a reputation issue as well. Tesla has been making these packs since 2007, 2006 even. And, their design is mature. And they're going to be around to support it.
Right.
The target now is $45,000. If you can come in under that, and you'd have to do a substantial, change, then I think you've got a shot at competing with Tesla for this pack.
Yeah. And I think with some of the technologies that these guys are talking about doing, the lithium polymer packs, yeah, that might work. But there's going to be definitely going to be some challenges.
So our two reasons that we feel that there are no changes underfoot, aside from the fact that no one is saying anything at Tesla. At $29,000, it was underwater. Raising the price to $40,000 plus tax restores this as a revenue-generating venture for Tesla. So if they're truly cutting costs, why would you cut a revenue-generating portion of your business? Makes no sense.
Yeah, you're not going to.
But the final caveat here is number 2. Do you really believe Tesla will be able to sell a $250,000 second-generation Roadster to the well-heeled and collectors if the reputation is that they will pull support for this car at some point in the future? And that'd be a foregone conclusion. They did it to the first-generation Roadster. Why not do that to another niche car, the second-generation Roadster?
Right.
So I think Tesla is pretty much stuck with the fact that they're going to have to continue to keep that first-generation Roadster alive in order to have a chance at selling any of those second-generation cars.
Yeah. When Tesla didn't realize how many cars there were out in the world, and the Roadster kind of lost its press, that was one thing. But now the Roadster is still getting a lot of love and a lot of attention from a lot of people. And as a result, Tesla can't hide behind ignorance anymore.
Right. Jesse, got another image to pop up here. This one's called Lightning Green. Lightning Green is a Tesla Roadster color that was available only in 2011. And I think it's a Subaru color. But it's striking enough to where Tesla decided, all right, even if it's Subaru, we're going to go ahead and use it. This is a car that came up for sale. And as you can see, that icon in the upper left-hand corner says that it's in our shop currently for sale. So if you wanted to come here, you could test drive this car. Someone asked, well, how many Lightning Green Roadsters were there? The next image, Jesse, is Lightning Green-23. And what we're showing here is a screenshot of the Tesla Roadster registry or census program on our website. And there are 23 Lightning Green Roadsters out of 33 that were originally produced. So 23 have been accounted for. It shows you where they're located and what the VINs are. And this is the extent of the information that we make visible. We do not put owner information, phone numbers, addresses, anything like that, just country or city and state in the United States. What was suggested actually is that we do a pin map of the registry. It's an excellent idea because there are almost 2,000 Roadsters out there. Maybe people would like to see where on the planet Roadsters are. Where's the heaviest concentration, the heaviest population?
I think that's a great idea.
That was actually Chad's idea from Resell. And we are working on it, Chad. We started to use AI and then figured out that there are actually programs that have been around for a couple decades or more that do this very thing. So we're doing both at this point.
Yeah, and it should be a fairly easy thing to do. We've already got the data, and getting it converted so that it can go to a PIN map will be an easy process.
Now, once this screenshot of the registry showing all lightning green Roadsters got posted, someone piped up and said, "I noticed that the registry list does not it shows my lightning green as a base model instead of a sport model, so we changed it to sport this morning." The point here is your updates out there, the owner community, are vital to keep the census accurate. And Tesla watches this census. One of the original reasons for making this available and visible was because a few years ago, no one really knew how many Roadsters were out there. And if Tesla was going to pull support, that would probably be the reason they did it is, well, there just aren't enough of you out there. So we started this, and lo and behold, we were accounting for almost 2,000 Roadsters at this point out of 2,400, which indicates there's a strong community out there.
Yeah, it definitely is.
All right. One final thing that I have for you is one of our customers in New Jersey is going to be part of a Roadster rally. And this is going to be May 11th, this Saturday, actually, on the boardwalk in Ocean City, New Jersey. And what they've done is invited a bunch of cars, including a bunch of Roadsters. Not all Tesla Roadsters, though. They're going to have a Eunice Roadster. They're going to have a Tesla Roadster Sport 2.0, a Ford Model B Roadster, Ford Model A Roadster Deluxe, and a Mini Roadster, and a BMW M Roadster, and a bunch of other cars. A Speedster is going to be there, a Ford Daytona Thunderbird, Alfa Romeo Spider. Anyway, I won't read you the whole list here, but for those of you that would like to see some cool cars, again, May 11th, on the boardwalk, Ocean City, New Jersey.
So that is coming up this Saturday. I hope that they take pictures of the Lotus Elise next to the Tesla Roadster, and they see that they're almost twins.
That would be cool, yes. And then finally, we want to plug the Tesla takeover in Germany, Austria, sorry, yes.
Yes.
And it was kind of funny because my daughter's birthday is Cinco de Mayo, Sunday. So I called her up, wished her happy birthday. And she says, "So are you preparing for your speech at the takeover?" And I said, "No, I usually just wing these. I get up there and, maybe somebody will ask questions, but I'm not into preparing." She says, "Well, you better, because remember, at my wedding, you deviated and you began giving the attendees financial advice." And I do remember now. I don't know why I got on this topic, but we were probably having a heated discussion just before I got up there about finances. So I get up there and I continue with it, and I said something like, "You know what? You will always have money if you learn to spend less than you make."
That's right.
So
That is so true.
my daughter advises that I prepare.
Well, maybe a little 3x5 card with a couple of topics so you can keep to them or something like that. It might not be a bad idea.
I see some people use their cell phones.
Yes, that's becoming a thing.
Yeah, but the problem I have with that, when I got laser surgery to fix my eyes, short range vision now, I have to have readers, in other words. That no longer works.
Okay.
So, but anyway, I will sort it out. For those of you that are going to Tesla Takeover, it is May 24th and 25th in Flachau, Austria, just outside Salzburg. Look forward to seeing you there. Tesla Boomer Mama will be there. John Stringer is going to be there. He's with the Tesla Takeover in the U.S. The Bearded Tesla is going to be there. I think I'm leaving some people out, Jesse. You think Sandy Munro will not be there?
John Stringers and I think that's who we mentioned before. Stringer, Boober Mama, and Bearded Tesla.
And a Bearded Tesla. Kimball Musk will not be there. Elon will not be there. And May will not be there. But when Europe gets big enough, I suspect that those guys are going to show up as well. So in the meantime, it should be a good event. They'll have 1,000 Teslas there and keep the sustainable energy movement very much alive and going into Europe. Few questions here. Why don't we finish those and then we'll close?
I think so. First is Highlander. He says, find art in fine wine age. This is referring to the Roadsters.
Right.
Well, it's just like a Roadster. You want to talk about a greater investment. He's implying the Roadster is a great investment, and it gets better with age. Wish I could afford it.
Mm-hmm. TikTok, political dissident. I agree with his take. All YouTube haters aside, Sandy's.
I think he was talking about Sandy's take. This is from a little earlier in the show, and Sandy Monroe is pretty opinionated and has some interesting takes on all things EV.
Mm-hmm. Now we've got Level Null chiming in. Now I don't know who that is, but he says, he or she, integration issues solved, and a big smiley face. Okay, well, it sounds like one of those innovators we talked about has solved the integration issues.
I am wondering if that's Marco Nolte.
Don't know.
I don't know that for sure. If his integration issues are solved, that would be amazing.
My suggestion is email us at ev@gruber.com. We'll bring it on the next podcast next week. And the whole Tesla Roadster community is anxiously waiting for some progress report on how all of you out there are doing with a replacement R80 battery pack.
Yes. Now, do you remember the picture of the red Roadster that was in storage that you showed? Probably 20 minutes ago. Nikki B saw that and she said, that Roadster looks like it could be Lightning McQueen's cousin.
Oh, okay. All right.
And, it probably could. That's just about exactly the same color of red as Lightning McQueen was.
Yeah. Oh, I do have another update for you guys. Jesse, if we can bring up Bodywork Zero. People are always curious how the Roadsters are being put back on the road and what it takes to get them there. Got a local customer here that twice was rear-ended within a year. First one wasn't as bad as the second one. The second one actually took the trunk lid, pushed it into the hard top, and crumpled part of the both sides of the quarter panels. And there you can see one of our master mechanics really getting into his work, prepping the inside of the quarter panel body damage there, stripping it clean so that we could reinforce from the rear.
Mm-hmm.
After this picture, we go to Bodywork-1. And here you can begin to see the type of reinforcement that was done with this quarter panel. These quarter panels, by the way, are no longer in production. They are epoxy to the side of the frame, very difficult to remove. And here we have begun the repair, patching, and reinforcing. And then the final shot that we have for you today, at least, Bodywork-2. Next week, we'll probably have it painted for you. Here is the filler primer and some of the blocking that has been taking place prior to going into paint. The rear deck lid is being replaced, and the hardtop has been repaired. So this Radiant Red Roadster will be on the streets of Phoenix here within the next month or so.
It's looking pretty good.
Yeah. Now, in order to do this type of work, we had to take out the power electronics module, take out the battery pack. We had to access the inside portions of that quarter panel. And then the trunk, I think the trunk tub is also being replaced. So there you have it. This is our Tesla Roadster weekly show. We appreciate all of you joining us. Leave your comments, likes and dislikes on the video. It's on our YouTube channel under Gruber Motors. And, we appreciate you joining us.
Not dislikes. Don't leave dislikes.
Oh, don't leave dislikes. Yeah, okay. Or at least tell us why you dislike it, and we'll try to correct what it is you're
That's right.
having some heartache about.
Well, we will see you this next week. Thank you for joining us.